reviewing reoccurring services, what maybe, let's do the flip side. Maybe the reason to go out for bid for some of these services is you might be doing it in-house, but is it more cost efficient to do it, with an outside vendor? For example, when I was on the school board, um, we had an inside, we were a mid-sized school district. We have 17,000 kids, 24 facilities. Um, so we had actually employees that did the trash pickup, and it was a horrible service. The person would call out, the trash truck would break down. It would be very costly. And so we went out on for bid for the local services to provide us with what they would charge us. And we actually saved money. And in addition, we got great perks. They gave us these trash cans, they gave us recycling bins. And so it was a great cost savings. So, look at it on the flip side on these it might be something in-house that you are doing that only makes sense to go out and let's take a look at this and see how much it would cost us if we went out for bid. And sometimes you will go with a bid, but sometimes you might just stick in-house, but you don't know until you evaluate it.
And also, don't just think that, well, if we do it in-house, then we're just talking about the salary of the individual. You're talking about salary, you're talking about benefits, you're talking about equipment that may be necessary to perform the job. What's the life cycle of some of this equipment? So there are other factors. And my experience has been that in a fair amount of the time, contracting out is better. And a lot of times it's more of a quality perspective, value for dollar, like Laura just mentioned. When someone specializes in something, providing something, doing something, they tend to be more efficient. And contractors are always looking at ways to cut their costs or cost savings for them. They may up your bill, but for them, they're always looking at ways to help mitigate some of their costs and stuff. So don't discount the fact that just because you have in-house people, that you should continue to stick with them.
So there's not one magic solution to cost savings, to help you come up with millions of dollars for your district. There's not one magic solution to prevent fraud or wasteful spending, but there's all these parts and pieces we're talking to you about. It's being aware, that's number one. Looking for the red flags, having good policies in place, knowing what your policy is, looking at your procedures based on what those policies are. Those are areas that you can help look at. Are we being efficient? Are we being safe? Are we making sure that our dollars are being secured? And then putting these policies in place. And Karen, I know when I was on the board, it was intimidating sometimes to ask these questions because sometimes I was the only one asking these questions. And I would often get shut down by my conservative school board friends that's not our job. Leave it to them. They're the experts. And I'm sure you heard that too. So be aware that that's probably going to be the reaction if this has been the way that they've always done it and you're coming in and trying to break up the status quo. Just know that sometimes you will encounter some resistance, but as you start getting in there and you start seeing these areas of opportunity, it's a win-win situation. If you can work and you can show your superintendent behind the scenes, look what I found, look at these cost savings, and then he or she takes it to the board and he or she agrees and he becomes a superhero, or she does, because they've just saved the school district X amount of money. And then you can use those funds to fund those other areas of priority that align with your strategic plan. So don't be afraid to ask the questions. And before I jump into this, go ahead.
Amy has a comment. I don't know that it's necessarily a question, but a comment. And Amy, for that amount of money, I think I would ask for it to be put on the as an action item. And I would ask for a little bit more detail with regards to, okay, we're buying this technology, equipment, and services. Where is it going, and what is it supporting? And how is it supporting student learning? I mean, those are some things that I would ask. And then, as Laura stated, you have to build a backbone when you start serving on the school board, because I know oftentimes I was one of 8, and oftentimes I was the only one who was asking questions, who was bringing things up, because I thought that the public should be aware. And that's our job. That's what we're elected to do, is make sure that we're being good stewards. Our fiduciary responsibility is being honored and respected. And we just have to have a backbone to be able to do it. Because I was very shy at first.
Yes. So let's wrap this up. I know we have 10 minutes and we want to honor your time, but we wanted to make sure that we went far enough in depth so that you can go back on your own and start looking at this research and some of the resources that we're going to attach to this presentation. So you're going to have homework, and we know that, but we're going to wrap this up with reports, because you have to know what to look for. And the way that you start doing that is obviously the things we told you and talked to you about before, but asking for reports. Like I had mentioned, you're going to be chastised by your fellow board members. It's not our job to get into the day-to-day, but you're not getting into the day-to-day whenever you're just asking for transparency on how things are being spent. That you took an oath, and it is part of your job duty. And that's why we talk a lot about understanding your roles and responsibilities. It's your job to understand how every dollar is being spent. And at the end of the day, if there's fraud, if there's wasteful spending, if there's abuse, and the academics aren't succeeding, guess who it comes back to? It comes back to you as a board member. So know that this is your responsibility to ask questions and to do your research, and do not be intimidated because no one else is doing this. And it is your job to hold the superintendent accountable. In return, it's the superintendent's job to manage the day-to-day operations, put those procedures in place based on your policies, set the guidelines based on your board policy. But it's also their job to keep the board informed, to provide you with the backup information on these contracts, to provide you with the details on, if something's coming before you for a vote. And to bring these budget items to the board for approval. They must have adequate backup information. Is it tied to the strategic plan? And if it is, show me what area. And one thing that we did when I was on the board, we incorporated is anytime a contractor, anytime a dollar amount was going out the door, we had asked the superintendent on the agenda item, but what fund it was coming out of. And then also we had asked what strategic plan goal it was tied to, so that we kept them mindful that we were paying attention to that, but it also reminded us where that was going. So some things that you can do, as a board member is just ask for some reports and start researching this stuff on your own and just be monitoring this. You don't have to be a CPA or a forensic accountant or someone that's background in procurement, but just taking a look at the check registries. How are they spending the money within your school district? Are there anything that seems off? I have seen some school boards, every meeting they would have in the backup, they would have a copy of the check registry of all the dollars that went out the door for that time period. Then I've seen other school districts that haven't. So this is not something that they're automatically going to start giving you. It's something that you're going to have to show that there's a value to know. Another area of reports that you want to start looking at are the P card statements. Take a look at these statements. You need to know who has them, but also you need to understand how are they spending the money on these P card statements. When I was on the board, I started looking at them, and the area of opportunity I found for savings was in hotel costs and travel costs for our conferences. They were staying at places like the Ritz-Carlton and things like that. And so we were able to put policies in place and parameters. So don't be afraid to ask for the P card statements. And another area, and I pulled these for an example, are like your expenditure summaries for those periods of time. So I found this. I like this school district here in Wisconsin because they're very transparent. This was right on their page within their school district. It says right there, monthly financial reports, and they had a really good variety of reports, and they were very transparent. So thank you to the school district for doing it right. But anyways, this is the type of report you want to look at, the expenditures. What I like about this report is it shows you what was approved, and then what's still left. What's the percentage of unused that's left? And this is where you can identify, are we spending the money at the pace that we think we should be spending it? And then especially toward the end, you'll see, okay, this fund is they've only spent 50%. So they're going to do that, use it or lose it. So these reports can help you identify some of those areas to help you be better school board members. And then the budget to actual comparison report is something that I found beneficial whenever I was on the school board. Again, what we're looking at today are basically expenditures. Revenues is another day, another conversation. But we have tons of resources that align with this presentation today. And another resource that we have coming out is we have our 2024 school board member manual. We added this section to it, so it's late coming out. We hope to have it out sooner, but we felt it was important to incorporate that into our school board member manual. Let's see. So if anyone wants to contact me for this presentation, please reach out to me. I'd love to share it with you, but we would like to know who's downloading it and who's using it. So we'd love for this to get out to other school board members, but for us to know who they are, we'd like to share it with them ourselves.